Hi everybody, this is Dr. Latoshia Palmer and I wanted to share with you this quick presentation regarding a proposed development of a school growth team, in addition to sharing with you some longitudinal data that was discovered regarding the test scores at your school site, along with your attendance data, in addition to school discipline data. So I know that this is very informal, so please bear with me. I wanted to make this quick as possible. So basically, I wanted to share with you the purpose of the school growth team. And the reason why we have a school growth team, it's a proposed idea to consider, is to formulate a school growth team for the 2019-2020 school year, so that it can address the student achievement, school climate, school culture and safety, equity and access, also 21st century technology, and the professional development and instruction of Will Rogers Middle School. So what is a school growth team? Basically, it's a team that's comprised of teachers, administrators, and other vested stakeholders to help develop and implement a school growth plan. And that's all based off of your longitudinal data that you're going to see in a moment. What are the proposed Will Rogers growth goals? Again, they're heavily tied to improving the ELA and math scores, reducing school suspension rates, and improving attendance. And then what is Will Rogers' proposed first course of action? The first course of action is to implement a proposed student academic achievement model. And later on, you'll have the opportunity to take a needs assessment survey regarding that aspect. So let's move into some data. Again, we're going to skip through this proposed agreements. We'll discuss that later. And please excuse some of the pop-ups. Again, this is a very informal, but I wanted to provide you a brief overview in terms of what you're looking at here. Okay, so here's some interesting data in terms of 3 years of CASP data, looking at longitudinal data of your language arts and literacy scores overall. Okay. And you can take a look for yourself there and see how you guys are doing. And this is all in terms of goals not met, nearly met, met, and exceeded goals. Okay, now let's take a look at your 2018 CASP ELA scores, your demographic data. And you can see here, let's take a look at the standards not being met here. There's a high percentage of students with who are English learners, of course, followed by students with disabilities. This is your longitudinal data for 3 years of your math scores overall, okay? Again, 3 years in terms of 2015 to 2016, 2016 to 2017, 2017 to 2018. And then again, not met, nearly met, met, and exceeded. And this is followed by your demographic scores overall for 2018. Again, let's look at the data in terms of standards not met. For example, your highest number here, we have 79.61 with students with disabilities. Okay, and then followed by that, we see our English language learners. And then if we want to go to a third category here, is your African American, Black, or your African American students. Okay, this is your longitudinal data for school suspensions over the past 3 years. Again, you can see where you're at right now. Let's look at where we're at. 2018. So we need to have some improvement here. All right. I'm trying to move as quickly as I can. And then this is your 2018 school suspension data by student group. And these performance colors were taken from the California school dashboard. It's very, very consistent and similar to that. And as you can see, these are the student groups that are in red, okay, followed by the students that are in yellow. Okay, and then looking at your school attendance data, longitudinal data for the past 3 years, you can see, let's see where we're at here. We're in the green here. Looks like you guys have made some really great improvements. So whatever you're doing, you might want to stick to that. That sounds awesome. Okay. And then also on your 2018 school attendance data by student group, oops, my bad. Again, this is very informal. You're pretty much in the yellow, okay? So I think you're doing some really good progress. But pay attention to the students here that are in the red. 2 or more races, and also you're homeless. Okay, let's look at your school growth goals, your proposed goals that I talked about previously in the introduction. Okay, and before going into your goals, it's important to pay attention to your student graphic, your student enrollment data. So this is important as well. Okay, and you can see you have a high percentage of socioeconomically disadvantaged students at 69.40%, followed by you have a high percentage of students who are Caucasian, and then a high percentage of students who are either Hispanic or Latino. Okay. So our proposed goal for equity and access, one of the things that we talked about was implementing a multi-tiered intervention academic model. And I'm at a different school, so sometimes my lights go out, so I apologize. So with this in mind, we're in the beginning phases of looking at that, researching you might want to research some really good academic intervention models that might work for Will Rogers, okay? For goal number 2, student achievement, it's just a proposed goal. You guys can always change it. All students to improve on math and ELA CAF scores by 10% by the end of the 2019-2020 school year. And then students with disabilities and English learners, which we just saw in the data, should increase CAF scores by at least 20%. If that is not manageable, I think we need to look at changing that to maybe 5 or 10%. Something that you know that you can achieve. That's totally up to you. Execution, staff will need to utilize collaborative professional learning times to research effective models of academic instruction for special populations of students who are English learners and for students with disabilities. Okay, let's look at our goal number 3, instruction and professional development. One of the proposed things to do is to consider reevaluating your collaborative time together and maybe possibly review the student demographic data at your school, identify the needed instructional tools and resources in order to meet the academic needs of your student population. What that looks like, it could possibly look like at Will Rogers, you may want to consider, it's just a consideration, exploring the possibility of implementing collaborative learning with immigrant families and students in efforts to promote student and family engagement, and then possibly look at developing innovative learning outlets and tools and resources for your homeless students and for your socioeconomically disadvantaged students in efforts to address the school's chronic absenteeism rate. Okay, and then in terms of goal 5, your 21st century technology, you might want to consider, I like this one here, the second bullet point, provide equal access to school technology, equipment, and internet services. It's very, very imperative to prepare all students to be college ready, but in order to do that, you might want to consider taking on the task of assessing the technology needs of your students and families. How many students actually really do have access to internet services? How many students actually have computers at home? Okay, so again, looking at your demographic data in terms of those who are really high for our socially economic disadvantaged students, we might want to take that into consideration. Again, this is very informal, y'all. Okay, so moving on to goal 6, culture, school culture, discipline, and safety. Will Rogers, could you want to consider implementing restorative justice practices in order to help improve school culture, reduce school suspensions by at least 7%? I think that could be doable, and foster, in order to foster a safe school environment. Okay. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time to actually review this really quick and informal, I want to say informal, video presentation regarding your longitudinal data for your school. I do have a needs assessment survey that I would like for you to participate in. If you could please do that, that would be so awesome. I'm asking if you can have that done for me by Thursday. That will give me enough time to formulate the results and then present that back to your team. Again, I will try to do the best I can to meet with you individually. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I would love to hear your feedback in terms of this presentation. along with some of the data that you have. That would be very, very helpful. You can send me an email. I'll take whatever information in whatever format that you have, as long as it's positive and you're going to be nice to me. Okay, so that's it. That's all the time I got. Thank you so much, and you all have a great day. Bye-bye.